Have you ever stopped to wonder why horses wear shoes? Not leather shoes like ours, but heavy pieces of iron nailed directly onto their hooves. It sounds uncomfortable, even cruel. And here's the strange part. Wild horses have survived for millions of years without them. So what changed? Why did humans decide that horses suddenly needed shoes? Was it really to protect them? Or was there another reason entirely? The answer takes us much further back than most people imagine. It begins thousands of years ago, long before medieval knights, before castles, and before the famous horseshoe even existed. Along the way, you'll discover desperate military campaigns, ingenious engineering, forgotten inventions, and one simple idea that helped build empires and change the way humans traveled, traded, and fought wars. So who invented the horseshoe? And why did this surprisingly simple piece of iron become one of history's most important inventions? Let's find out. Long before horseshoes existed, humans were already relying heavily on horses. Imagine standing on a muddy road in Western Europe 1,200 years ago. It is raining, and a heavy wooden wagon is stuck in the mud. The driver is furiously shouting at his horse. But the horse is not lazy. It is in terrible pain. Its hooves have become soft, split open, and infected. Without its hooves, this powerful animal is completely useless. To the medieval farmer, a horse that cannot walk is not just a problem. It is a financial disaster. For thousands of years, humans faced a strange paradox. The horse was the most important engine of human civilization. Horses carried soldiers into battle, pulled heavy plows through fields, and delivered messages across giant empires. Yet, this mighty machine had one major design flaw. Its feet were soft, sensitive, and easily destroyed by the very world humans built for it. Today, we take horseshoes for granted. We see them on farm gates, bring them home as symbols of good luck, or watch farriers nail them onto hooves without a second thought. But the invention of the horseshoe was actually one of the most critical engineering breakthroughs in human history. Without it, the modern world, our cities, trade networks, and global empires might never have developed the way it did. So, why do horses actually need shoes? And how on earth did ancient humans figure out that nailing pieces of iron directly into an animal's foot was a good idea? To understand why horses need shoes, we first have to look at how wild horses lived for millions of years. In the wild, a horse's hoof is a natural masterpiece. It is made of keratin, the exact same tough protein that makes up human fingernails and hair. The outer wall of the hoof has no nerves or blood vessels. As a wild horse travels across vast distances, its hooves naturally wear down. At the same time, the hoof grows continuously, just like your fingernails do. In dry, wide-open environments like the grassy plains of Central Asia, this natural system worked perfectly. The ground was hard enough to wear the hoof down, but dry enough to keep it tough and firm. Then, humans entered the picture. When humans domesticated the horse around 5,000 years ago, everything changed. We took horses out of their dry, open plains and brought them into wet, muddy environments like Northern Europe. We built paved roads made of hard stone. We put heavy metal armor on our soldiers and loaded wagons with tons of trade goods, forcing the horse to carry weight it was never evolved to support. The results were disastrous. Soft, wet mud caused the horse's hooves to absorb water, turning them soft and weak. Paved stone roads ground the hooves down much faster than they could naturally grow back. Soon, horses were limping, getting severe infections, and dying young. Humans had created a massive transportation problem, and they desperately needed a solution. The earliest attempts to protect horse feet were, frankly, quite clumsy. Over 2,000 years ago, ancient Asian nomads tried wrapping horse feet in leather bags stuffed with dried grass. These were essentially the first horse boots. They protected the feet for a short time, but the leather quickly rotted in wet mud or wore through on rough trails. The ancient Romans tried a slightly better approach. They invented something called the hippo sandal. This was a heavy plate made of iron or bronze with metal rings attached to it. Roman workers tied these metal sandals onto the horse's legs using leather straps. Hippo sandals certainly protected the hoof, but they had huge problems. They were extremely heavy and clumsy. If a horse tried to gallop, the metal sandals would fly off or trip the animal. Even worse, the leather straps rubbed against the horse's skin, causing painful sores. Imagine trying to run a marathon in heavy iron sandals tied to your ankles with rough ropes. It was far from an ideal solution. That was when someone had a radical, terrifying idea. What if we attach the metal plate directly to the bottom of the foot using sharp iron nails? To a modern observer, nailing metal into a living creature's foot sounds like pure torture. But ancient blacksmiths understood something vital about horse anatomy. The outer shell of the hoof is dead tissue, completely devoid of feeling. As long as the nail enters the tough outer wall and avoids the sensitive internal area, known as the quick or the white line, the horse feels absolutely no pain. It is exactly like clipping your own fingernails. Historians still debate who hammered the very first horseshoe. Some evidence points to the ancient Celts, while other records suggest nomadic tribes in Siberia were using primitive nailed shoes. By the 9th century, iron horseshoes with nail holes were spreading rapidly across Europe. With this single invention, the horse was completely transformed. A horse with iron shoes could walk on sharp rocks, pull heavy loads on wet soil, and travel on paved roads in any weather without wearing down its feet. The engine of the human world suddenly had indestructible tires. As horseshoes became essential, a whole new profession was born: the farrier. A farrier is a specialist who combines the skills of a blacksmith with the knowledge of a veterinarian. In medieval Europe, farriers were seen almost as wizards. They worked with fire and iron, shaping white-hot metal on anvils to custom fit each individual hoof. Being a farrier required incredible precision. If a farrier nailed a shoe just a millimeter too deep, the nail would pierce the sensitive inner hoof. This mistake, called pricking, would cause severe pain, infection, and lameness. A bad farrier could ruin a king's warhorse in seconds. Because their work was so crucial, horseshoeing gave rise to strange laws, superstitions, and unexpected cultural side effects. Take, for example, the famous tradition of the horseshoe as a symbol of good luck. This myth actually started in 10th century England with a man named Dunstan, who was a blacksmith before becoming the Archbishop of Canterbury. According to medieval legend, the devil walked into Dunstan's blacksmith shop one day, demanding shoes for his own cloven hooves. Dunstan recognized the devil immediately. He tied him up and nailed a red-hot iron shoe so firmly to the devil's foot that the demon screamed in agony. Dunstan agreed to remove the painful shoe only after the devil swore a promise. He would never enter any building that had a horseshoe hanging above the door. Beyond legends, horseshoes had massive economic value. In medieval times, iron was expensive and difficult to make. Horseshoes were so valuable that they were sometimes accepted as payment for taxes. Armies going into battle carried thousands of spare shoes and specialized nails. In fact, losing a supply of horseshoes could cause a military commander to lose an entire war. If you are enjoying this deep dive into history and want to improve your English while learning incredible stories, make sure to subscribe to Origin Stories. We share hidden chapters of history every week. Now, back to our story. As European cities grew larger during the Industrial Revolution, the demand for horses reached an all-time high. Millions of horses pulled streetcars, delivery wagons, and carriages over hard cobblestone streets. Without horseshoes, city life would have come to a complete standstill within days. However, metal shoes on hard stone roads created a dangerous new problem: traction. Iron shoes were smooth, and on wet cobblestones or icy streets, horses slipped constantly. A falling horse could break a leg, destroy a wagon, or crush pedestrians. Engineers responded with absurdly complex horseshoe designs. They added sharp iron spikes, called calkins, to the bottom of the shoes for winter weather. They invented rubber-filled horseshoes to absorb the shock of hard city streets. During the 19th century, the United States Patent Office received thousands of different patent applications for unique horseshoe designs. People invented folding horseshoes, spring-loaded shoes, and shoes held together by complex mechanical clamps. By the early 20th century, the invention of the automobile finally replaced the horse as our primary source of transportation. Yet, the horseshoe remains a vital tool for millions of horses around the world today, for sports, farming, and recreation. Interestingly, modern science has brought this ancient story full circle. In recent years, veterinarians and scientists have realized that permanent iron shoes have drawbacks. Iron shoes stop the hoof from expanding naturally when it hits the ground, which can reduce blood circulation in the foot over time. Today, many horse owners are returning to modified versions of those ancient Roman hippo sandal ideas. Modern horses often wear flexible, high-tech hoof boots made of polyurethane and rubber, or light plastic shoes glued directly onto the hoof wall without any nails at all. When we look back at the history of the horseshoe, we see a fascinating story of human adaptation. We took an animal designed for dry, open spaces, brought it into our muddy paved world, and modified its body using fire and iron. It is easy to look at a simple iron crescent and see nothing more than a piece of metal. But that humble piece of iron made modern civilization possible. It carried armies across continents, built our cities, and connected distant cultures. The next time you see a horseshoe hanging above a door, remember that it isn't just a lucky charm. It is the very foundation of human history. What surprised you the most about this story? Let me know in the comments below, and check out another hidden chapter of history on our channel.